Hello, this is Lady Boulay, and I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you for your support. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for your thumbs up. Thank you for all you do to support the channel. And yes, we are commanded to love one another, whether we want to or not, or whether we agree with each other or not. Today, we're looking at a political moment that sparked a lot of debate online. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's loss in the Texas Democratic Senate primary and the reaction that followed. Some Black Americans are criticizing her strategy, her messaging, even her political identity. Others say she was failed by the Democratic Party's internal dynamics, and we can rest assured that that was part of the reason that she failed. The Democratic Party never comes through with Black candidates, especially when they're running for the Senate. So the question is, are Black Americans actually rejecting Jasmine Crockett, or is something else going on? Let's break it down. So who is Jasmine Crockett? Jasmine Crockett is a civil rights attorney turned Texas state representative, now a member of Congress. She built her brand on a bold, confrontational style, viral moments in congressional hearings, strong progressive positions, and a willingness to challenge Republicans directly. This made her a rising star nationally, but national fame doesn't always translate into statewide political power. So, what actually happened in the election? She ran for the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate in Texas. She ultimately lost to James Tallarico. Political analysts pointed to several factors. They say she had a weak statewide infrastructure. There were organizational issues within her campaign. And Tallarico had a broader appeal across the state, and that's not surprising. He is a Southern white man in a red state. So that was to be expected and predicted. They also said that she relied on the urban strongholds like Dallas and Houston, and that they weren't enough to carry the state. She initially raised concerns about the people in Dallas County not being able to vote for as long a period as they were supposed to. And that Secretary of State in Texas is always accused of doing something tricky when election time comes around. But eventually she conceded that she had lost. She lost by a large enough margin that even if they had done everything right in Dallas, she probably still would have lost, because if you are running a statewide campaign in a state as large as Texas, you can't just rely on two cities. And I'm sure she didn't, but you got to reach the broader state electorate, and you got to have the personality to do that, let's face it. So this was the Texas Democratic primary for Senate. That means this is Democrats running against Democrats. Texas Democrats are a coalition. Black voters concentrated in Houston, Dallas, and other urban centers. Then you have Latino voters, the largest demographic in the Democratic Party in Texas, but politically diverse. And then you have the white moderates, still a major part of the Democratic primary electorate. So you have three groups. You have the Black voters, the Latino voters, and the white moderates. White people are almost always going to break for the white person, and the Latinos will too, the majority, although a Black candidate is going to get a share of the Latino vote. But she had to really run up the numbers everywhere that Black people were and appeal to as many Latinos as she could, as well as those few white moderates who mostly are going to vote for the white candidate. That's just the reality. The Latino voters in Texas are not always progressive, so they don't always support progressive candidates. Latinos tend to be conservative, just like we are. Fundamentally, Black Americans are conservative, but we will vote for candidates who are progressive. But with the Latinos, they split their vote. Many lean moderate or culturally conservative, which means they vote for Republicans. Their turnout varies by region, and candidates who assume Latino support without deep organizing often underperform. Now, people said she pandered to the Latino community, but the Latino people are really in sort of they're kind of in a wavering position right now because many of them are truly concerned about immigration. And many of them are like, well, I came here the right way, so I don't care. I'm voting for the Republican. I think that sentiment is alive in the Latino community across the country. And even though this was a Democratic primary, Tallarico still represented the more conservative of the two. Jasmine Crockett's strategy was to build a multiracial coalition, especially with Latino voters. But coalition building requires time, local relationships, and regional infrastructure. Tallarico had stronger statewide familiarity and a more established network, which means he had more money. Some online commentators accused Jasmine Crockett of pandering to Latino voters at the expense of Black issues. Now, I don't know if that's true or not because the Black Texans, I think the ones that voted, supported her. There is no data stating what percentage of Black people voted for Jasmine Crockett or what percentage of eligible voters voted in this primary. But of the ones that voted, she got a large majority of the Black vote. So they didn't punish her at the polls, at least not the ones that voted. So it's more of a perception among some Black people that she pandered to the Latino community. And the Latino people are in a more precarious situation than Black Americans because we're not worried about being deported. So we can go whichever way we want. And most of the time, we do support the Black candidate, even if we don't agree with everything that they stand for. So this is one person's take on Jasmine Crockett's campaign.
I knew Jasmine Crockett was going to lose based on the way that a lot of people was on these social media platforms talking bad about her. All right? It don't matter if the collective of us went out and voted for her. We got to understand that she's still a Black woman. You had that one white T woman that got on here and said, I love Jasmine Crockett, but I voted for Tallarico because we need someone who could win. Well, the only way she can win is by you voting for her. So what are you talking about? That's why we have statements like, never trust a white T liberal woman. Okay? And then you had Black women and Black men on this app saying that Jasmine Crockett is ghetto. And on other social media platforms too. She shouldn't be in any type of political position. Yeah, so it's some of her own people that was, putting out narratives against her. So yeah, I mean, bro, and then like I said, she's a Black woman.
Now, this does speak to the dilemma that many Black people go through. Black people overwhelmingly want to support Black people in politics, in business, and education. But here is the thing. Many Black people do not like the way Jasmine Crockett carries herself. And they have called her ghetto. And not only that, now they're calling her the T word, the word that they're using for immigrants who are in politics that don't work in the best interest of Black Americans. And they're accusing her of being from an immigrant background because somebody said her family came from Haiti in the 1800s. I don't know if that's true or not, but I also think that Black people's feelings should be respected. Most of the Black people in politics carry themselves extremely well. They are proper, they speak well, and you can counter what somebody says without getting down in the dirt. You don't have to go high when they go low. But you can meet them measure for measure, but you don't have to do it in a way that people are going to call you ghetto. Of all the black women and men that are in the United States Congress, you don't hear people calling them ghetto. They're not ghetto because of the way they comport themselves. And Terry Sewell is one of the representatives from Alabama. She carries herself extremely well. And you don't hear anything about her unless she's doing something in advocacy for the people of the Selma district. You don't see her on social media grandstanding and, doing one liners and trying to one up on Donald Trump because nobody's going to outclown Donald Trump. So I think it's a legitimate concern that black people have that they don't like the way she behaves. And I think she needs to listen to that because at the end of the day, black people still have to be better. We still have to be better than white people when we go to political office or anything else. And if you want to play in their game, you have to play by their rules. And their rules say you have to be better when you are black. Now, if you're going to stay on the black side, you can mix it up however you want. But politics is really the game that they created. And you're not going to beat them at their own game. So, anyway, Black Americans had two issues with Jasmine Crockett, as I could see it. Number one, some Black Americans felt that she pandered to the Latinos at the expense of Black people, or at least pandered to the Latinos and ignored Black people. And then there's another group of Black people that think that Jasmine Crockett is ghetto. And I'm not going to mention the ones who say she's an immigrant because that's undocumented. I haven't been able to really find that in any real documentation about her. But that's something that she needs to take into consideration going forward if she plans to stay in politics. Because politics at the end of the day is the voters' game. It is the voters' game. And when the majority of voters have to choose between the familiar and the unfamiliar, most of the time they're going to choose the familiar, and that's white. Okay, y'all, let me know what you think about this. We're now on daylight savings time. Give me a thumbs up, stay warm out there, and have a wonderful day.